Good morning. Welcome back to Tropics Talk. Meteorologist Jim Dickey here in the ABC 7 Hurricane Center. Sort of hot off the presses. Right before I went to cut this video, we got some breaking news out of the Hurricane Center, and that is that Elsa is now a hurricane. This is a special advisory, 8:30. Man, the satellite presentation looked very impressive on satellite overnight. A little more ragged early this morning, but yeah, strong enough intensification during the overnight hours that as Elsa moved its way south of Barbados, there's Barbados right there, reports of wind gusts to 84 miles per hour, sustained winds at that hurricane threshold, 75 miles per hour, so that's where the Hurricane Center has set the intensity, a 75 mile per hour Category 1 hurricane, still moving at a very fast clip at 28 miles per hour. I think that's an important point here. In fact, let's go over and just look at the satellite presentation itself. Take the stats off for you. You know, when you're moving at 28 miles per hour, think of it like you're on a train and throwing a baseball. If you're on a train that's already going, 50 miles per hour, and you throw your fastball, you're not even that good of a pitcher, but you throw it at, 40 miles per hour or so. Now you're talking a 90 mile per hour fastball because you add that already forward speed, that forward component to the motion, to what you put on it too. It's the same thing with Elsa. It's moving at 28 miles per hour, so you have that embedded already, just the forward motion. You put a 50 mile per hour sustained tropical storm force wind on top of that movement, and you're going to get winds to hurricane strength. So there you go, Hurricane Elsa. And of note, a number of my graphics don't necessarily reflect that, as I have yet to sort of update everything, but I needed to get this going as soon as I possibly could. Regardless of this intensity, does not change the near-term trajectory. This is still being steered by the Atlantic Ridge, still strong this morning off to the due north of Elsa. It's going to keep that on that fast west-northwesterly track over the next 24 hours. By the time we get to tomorrow morning, it'll already be near Hispaniola and Jamaica. From there, the certainty sort of wanes a little bit. The high-pressure area backs off. It's by 3 o'clock tomorrow. And now we're talking Elsa near, if not over, Jamaica. This is by Sunday, actually. And it starts to make its turn to the north and slows down. The question continues to be, where does that turn occur? And here's your latest spaghetti plots, showing you a little more agreement in the models. More of them are lined up with a track off to the west to southwest Florida, going up through the eastern Gulf of Mexico towards the Big Bend of Florida. A little too close for comfort as far as I'm concerned. Still, a few outliers showing a path into eastern Florida, a few outliers going way out into the Gulf. And we were talking about this yesterday. I think this is a big key here. Where this goes between Hispaniola, Jamaica, and Cuba. A number of models that have this going right over Jamaica, then put this out into the central Gulf of Mexico. A number that go north have a track much closer to Florida. And then, too, you see all of these different islands. You see sort of the darker browns. Those are mountains. So does this track over Hispaniola, the high terrain there, that could have a weakening effect? Does it go over southeastern Cuba? Lots of rugged terrain there. Does it go over Jamaica? Some mountains there as well. Or does it shoot the gap, as a number of these members show? And if so, it likely holds on to some of that intensity. Now, let's dive into the GFS forecast model. 3 latest runs for you. Actually, I believe the green is now updated to this 6Z run, 18Z and 12Z in white and yellow. Bottom line, 3 consecutive runs, and the GFS has been very consistent. It is locked in on the idea that this rolls across the Florida Straits into the eastern Gulf of Mexico, swings right up the coast of Florida into the Big Bend or the Panhandle. The bullseye is showing you where the central pressure would be by 8 o'clock Tuesday evening. And again, it has not varied very much in its last couple of runs. Let's look at that latest run and see what it shows you. Again, it's been pretty good on intensity here in initializing as well. Keeps this as a very strong tropical storm or hurricane south of Hispaniola by early tomorrow morning. It slides it to the south of Hispaniola, so avoiding those mountains, over Jamaica or just north of Jamaica, going in to Sunday and Monday, again slowing down at this point in time. And now we start to see our turn more to the north. Over western Cuba on this model, just missing the Keys. By the time we get to Tuesday evening, the GFS has this off to the due west of Fort Myers and Cape Coral, then going north from there, potentially right into the Big Bend. Actually, this is showing you two different runs because the 6Z represents where the surface pressure is, where the rain is, whereas the early morning run is showing you the winds. That hasn't updated in my models just yet, but note the agreement in that by 2 o'clock, the 2 consecutive runs of the model more or less showing the same exact thing. So, like I said, the operational model looks more or less locked in on that solution. But then you switch over to the latest ensemble. You know, you never want to trust just one run of one model. An ensemble gives you a much better idea of the range of possibilities. The ensemble, you take that model, you tweak it a number of different ways before you run the forecast, then you run it, you get your different solutions. If they all sort of line up, you have even more confidence in this. Well, look at what most of the members are actually doing, not showing that same solution as the operational run, but going way further out into the Gulf of Mexico. And of note, most of those members that do that show a stronger storm entering the Caribbean, and as we know right now, it's a hurricane. So you have a little more faith in that more southerly track that takes it right over or just south of Jamaica and then into the central Gulf of Mexico, into the Panhandle or Louisiana. But still, a number of members and the operational run still hinting that this comes very close to, if not makes a direct hit on the Florida coastline, on southwest Florida, the Florida Gulf Coast, into early next week. And then I think we can finally put to rest the idea that this is going to completely fall apart, as the European model has been suggesting. It barely had this even as a closed-off tropical storm as of this morning, and it completely breaks it apart. So unless we get to 11 o'clock this evening and Elsa is no more, then you can throw this in the trash. I still want to show it to you. It shows, again, just sort of an open wave going across Hispaniola and then being drawn up, the moisture into the front. Again, I just don't buy it at this time. And when you look at its ensemble, it has come much more in line with what the GFS is showing. Again, same thing. You're looking at the different lines, the different members. Yes, a number of them still showing that weak system going across Hispaniola, but now more of the members have a stronger storm, at least a tropical storm, which we know it's underplaying it already. And it shows that on that more westerly track, it actually, keep that in the back of your mind, make a mental snapshot. Now we go back to the GFS. They're actually pretty consistent. They're actually lining up pretty good. So I think at this point, we can say the most likely scenario brings Elsa close to Jamaica by Sunday, across western Cuba, and into the Gulf of Mexico. The question then, is it more of a due northerly turn? Does it go more out into the central Gulf? Is this more of an impact for Florida? Is this more of an issue for the northern Gulf Coast, Florida Peninsula, or the northern Gulf Coast, perhaps the Panhandle? And again, all remains to be seen, but will sort itself out this weekend. I have confidence in that. There's your cone of concern. The Hurricane Center hasn't given a full update just yet, but it's interesting to see what they're going to do with intensity, because we still have to talk about what's going to go on with the mountains. It's going to encounter some more shear as it goes across the eastern Caribbean as well, so we could see some weakening today, even as the current trend is for strengthening. But if we assume the 65 mile per hour intensity, again, a couple scenarios that could unfold. Most likely scenario at this point in time takes Elsa over western Cuba into the eastern Gulf of Mexico with a landfall in the Big Bend or the Panhandle. For us in southwest Florida, that still means, much like what we saw with Ada last November, heavy rain, strong gusty winds, rough surf in the Gulf of Mexico on Tuesday into Wednesday, and then coastal flooding at high tide. This is still on the table. A direct hit. And again, now this is a hurricane. We have to pay, I'd say, even more attention to this potential for a strong tropical storm, perhaps even a hurricane, making more of a direct hit in southwest Florida. And we'd have the full range of impacts from that. High winds, the potential for power outages, flooding, rainfall, and even storm surge, because we'd have more of that steady onshore component to the winds as it moved onshore. Then I think you can sort of take out that scenario bringing this up the East Coast, but I'll leave it for now. And then something that goes more into the central Gulf of Mexico, definitely still on the table, in which case the impacts here in southwest Florida would be minor. Gusty squalls at times, definitely rough seas in the Gulf, but little else, and more of a direct impact on the northern Gulf Coast. So, you know, we're heading into the holiday weekend, which is going to be a quiet one in southwest Florida, but I do want you to make sure you're doing a couple of things. Make sure your hurricane kit is ready to go. Worst case, or I guess best case, if this misses us, You know, if this goes into the central Gulf of Mexico, we don't see direct impacts here in Southwest Florida. Well, now your hurricane kit is stocked up and ready to go as we head towards the heart of hurricane season. So what's the harm there, right? Make sure you have a plan in place. Make sure that if this is coming our way, you're not trying to scramble late Monday figuring out what you're going to do. You have sort of an idea of what your go plan would be if this does head our way ahead of time to reduce your stress. And then stay informed. Make sure you're keeping an eye on the forecast this weekend. Enjoy your holiday, but make sure you're checking in with us at ABC7. We're going to have frequent updates on air and online as to what Elsa is doing, as to what that means for our forecast here in Southwest Florida. I'll be back with a full update coming up in just a couple minutes on More in the Morning at 9, and then Andrew Adams will be here this evening. We'll be here all weekend long, keeping you updated. So, again, stick with us for updates. Until next time, I'm meteorologist Jim Dickey. Have a great 4th of July.